Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
In this thread, the weirdest, creepiest person you've ever met.
My friends and I pretty much had the run of the neighborhood when I was a kid, probably 11 or 12 at the time. We lived in a forested area where everyone's house had plenty of acreage, out in the country, so to speak. One night, we all decided to tell our parents we were staying at this kid Eddie's house. His parents were always out of town. We thought it would be cool to be totally unsupervised, but we became bored very quickly and resorted to shit like truth or dare. Long story short, we decided to go out into the woods behind our neighborhood that is basically some sort of wildlife reserve. I remember it was close to midnight, and the four of us were packed together in fear that one of us would get lost and we'd get caught roaming around at night without our parents knowing. The woods were really thick and we struggled to find paths capable of walking through. Eventually, we made it to an open area where the moonlight shone through enough where we could make out our surroundings. We didn't have a destination in mind, we were just really bored, so we decided to head back. We formed a line and faced the direction we came from when I heard distinct footsteps, crunching the leaves and twigs about 15 yards in front of us. The footsteps stopped. "What the fuck do you think you're doing out here?" We all dropped to our knees, thinking maybe the person couldn't see us. Just as a reference, we had been walking out for a good hour. Whoever this was either followed us the entire time since we left the house, or they were already out in the woods. We sat there for a good 30 seconds before the footsteps picked up again in a direction facing away from us. "Go home. Now." We seriously sat there and wept for a good 10 minutes before we couldn't hear anything and started walking back. I don't know if paranoia made us disoriented, but we ended up getting lost because we passed a small creek that we knew we didn't pass. The only logical for a 12-year-old thing to do was to just wait until daylight. So we sat next to this creek. Barely anything was visible, and I shit you not, that guy followed us. We were sitting in a circle back to back, and my friend Chris whispered, "There's someone up there." I looked up at the top of the embankment leading to the creek where we were sitting next to, and there was a silhouette of a man casually leaning over a rock. I put my head in my hands, sitting Indian style, hoping this guy would just go away. So my idiot friend Eddie was like, "Leave us alone." And all I heard was this fucker taking off down the embankment towards us, hopping the creek and running into the woods on the other end of us. We hauled ass in the exact opposite direction and eventually ended up in a pasture of some sort behind a gas station. We followed the main road home until a sheriff stopped us and took us back to our parents. We crammed in the back on that hard plastic excuse of a seat. And this guy straight up told us, "What were you thinking? There's a damn guy on the loose out here somewhere making makeshift spike strips and kidnapping people on the side of the road up here." Scariest moment of my entire fucking life. I gladly expected getting swatted on the ass when I got home.
Not a person, but a vehicle. It's a shit-conditioned truck with a makeshift wooden back or bed. Usually the back of the truck is covered and we can't see inside. On the back window is a wooden pentagram, and curtains cover the back window. The first time I saw it was at a store a couple years ago. Didn't think much of it, other than its bizarre appearance and the symbol. A year later, I spotted it parked outside my neighbor's house, who happened to be a Christian. which freaked me out, thinking that whoever owns the truck was working with my neighbor before he got arrested. I started seeing it at various stores, and there was never anyone inside. One day we found it again, but the back window was opened. We pulled back the curtain, and there was a coffin with stakes shoved into it. We assumed it was an unusual-looking hearse, or the vehicle of a coffin maker. The front seats always had axes, saws, and hammers on them, so we were convinced he was just a coffin crafter. It kept returning to my neighbors too. We often go to a cemetery to toke when we don't have a house to ourselves, and in the location where we usually parked, the car was parked. Eventually, we found the back window open again. There were chains and machetes this time. Being paranoid people, we flipped shit whenever we saw the car from this point on. Eventually, it drove past us on a dark, empty road. We turned around to get a glimpse of the driver, and the car was parked in the middle of the road and empty.
When I was 16, I had a paper route. Though I didn't deliver the morning newspaper, I delivered the weekend commercial. I had long hair back then, I'm a dude, and a Celtic cross hanging around my neck. I wasn't into religion or paganism or anything. The hair was part of my modest rebellion against my folks, and the cross was a gift from my girlfriend. One day I went to deliver commercial to some apartments. I plopped them into the front door, and as soon as I had done so, I heard a loud ruckus from inside the apartment. A skinny, bald man in his 30s or 40s opens the door. He almost looks out of breath or startled. He had apparently sprinted towards the door in order to catch me. At first, he looks at me more or less confused, but soon breaks into a wide smile. "Hey!" he exclaims and strikes up a conversation with me. I figured I'd be polite since I wasn't in a hurry, and so I stopped to talk to him. The man complimented my long hair. He complimented my cross and my looks. He thought I was interesting. By now I had figured that he was lonely and just wanted to get on with my route. He asked me if I wanted to come in for tea, but I declined politely. He looked, I kid you not, absolutely heartbroken. He said he understood but hoped for another visit. The next week, when I went to those apartments, I thought about what to do with him. His door was closest to the exit, so this time I went up the stairs and worked my way down instead of up. Then I quickly dropped his commercial off and hurried out to my bike. He followed me. As before, he seemed out of breath and broke into a big smile as he saw me. He was a bit worked up because I was already about to leave. I apologized and said that I was really in a hurry today. I said that I was behind on my schedule. This, of course, was a lie. He started pleading with me, asking me if I please wouldn't come in for a while. Surely I had some time to spare. I said that no, I don't. I apologized as sincerely as I could, but I did not have time to linger. He offered to help me with my work so that we could hang out later. I came up with various excuses. I'm a good liar, and finally he was persuaded. He gave up a disheartened sigh, and because he needed some kind of human contact, he grabbed the back of my bike. He figured that he'd give me a rolling start, because my bike was loaded up with heavy bags filled with paper, and sent me on my way. He was nice, but really pathetic and creepy. As I continued my route, I noticed that a group of 3 men had been standing and watching the whole scene. They did not seem amused. The fact is, they looked downright hostile as they had witnessed a middle-aged man desperately plead for the attention of a teenage boy. The following week, there was a "No Commercial Please" sign taped to his door. I never saw that man again, and I do not know what happened to him.
Back in high school, I used to work at a stuffed animal store. Family business, yada yada. The manager's husband was Lovely Bones creepy. And one day, this man on one of those motorized scooter things drives into the store. The minute he enters, I am hit with the worst smell ever. It was as if he had been marinating in his own urine and feces since the moon landing, and he had dandruff all over his shirt the size of quarters. Anyway, he wanted to buy his granddaughter a stuffed unicorn and asked me to pick one out for him, so I did so quickly just to get him out of my store. At this point, I am alone with Assbutt McGee and trying not to vomit on my trainers. Of course, he needed me to fish his wallet out and run his card for him, and as I returned it to him after ringing up his purchase, he stroked my hand and said something like, "Thanks, precious." I wanted to die. He tried coming back a few times after that while I was working, but I just hid in the back of the store, praying that he'd go away. I miss how relaxed that job was. I pretty much got paid to browse the internet all day. But I do not miss the interesting people I had to deal with on a regular basis.
Oh God, how could I forget this one? It's recent. So I was at the gym recently, maybe a month or two ago. And I'm a pretty small guy, 5'10", 145 pounds. But I enjoy lifting heavy squats, deadlifts, etc. Well, anyways, there is this really weird guy standing next to me doing some strange wrist curl exercises, but I can feel him looking over at me while I'm doing my set. It's distracting as all hell, but I continue my exercise and move on to the next one. I didn't think anything of it because people usually watch me in the squat rack. Anyway, about an hour later I'm walking to the locker room and I go to wash my hands and get changed when this dude comes up to me. It's late at the gym because it's a 24-hour facility and he tries to talk to me. "Hey, I noticed you lift pretty heavy for your weight." I agree and ask if he's interested in lifting, etc. He tries telling me his life story about how he used to be a teacher and is going to school for biology. I'm really just being friendly and bullshitting this dude, but I say that I'm majoring in biology as well, because I was at the time. He tells me how he's interested in being a personal trainer and all of this. I tell him that my mom is a personal trainer, etc. Really, I'm just being friendly. This guy is in his 40s probably. I told him that I really had to get going because my mom was outside picking me up. He tells me to take down his number because maybe we can meet up at the gym sometime and lift. I pretend to take his number down and leave the locker room. First off, how fucking weird to follow someone into the locker room like that. Approach me on the floor, goddammit. It made me really uncomfortable. Second, don't be weird as fuck about it. I'm only 20 years old. I have no idea what that's all about. Anyway, I leave the place and go home. A few months later, I'm going to the gym with my buddy, and as we are walking to the gym, I see this guy leaving the gym. The same guy. I notice him before he notices me, and I avoid all eye contact and turn away and pretend to be interested in conversation with my friend. I tell him about the guy as we get into the gym, and he thinks it's weird and that I'm just overreacting, and the guy was probably a nice dude. We are in the middle of our squats, and I see the fucker lurking around the gym. He had just left, but must have turned around when he saw me. It wouldn't have been so weird if he had just come up to me as soon as he came back into the gym. But he creepily walked around the gym for, I kid you not, an hour and a half. I could feel him looking at me doing my sets, and could just feel his anticipation to approach me. I had never been so uncomfortable. He was seriously doing bullshit exercises like curling for an hour, and then followed us to our next area and did some more bullshit curls. I could just feel this guy looking. He was walking around the bench where we were. I was so anxious. God, such a bad feeling. After 2 hours of walking around the gym, staring at me, he comes up to me and says, "Hey, what's up?" He then says, "Don't you remember me?" I tell him I do, and ask for his name again. Dan. Cool. Dan, how are you? I'm good. I gave you my number. How come you never called me? I was really looking forward to your call. I said, I don't know, I just didn't call you. Is there a fucking problem, dude? He then awkwardly said, "Oh, no problem," and walked away and did some wrist curls. I probably look like a dick, but I promise you that this dude was giving the most uncomfortable vibes I have ever gotten ever.
My dad and his ex-wife are friends. She recommends he hang out with someone she knows and go fishing. Dad wants a fishing buddy, so he agrees. The guy is rich and receives checks for thousands from the government monthly. He lives in a storage unit next to an airport because he's being watched. He rents a different car once a week. He buys food and immediately throws it away. He starts a fight on a fishing trip with my dad. Dad tells his ex-wife, "This guy's weird. Fuck him." The guy calls my dad all the time and tells him to meet him at places to fight. Dad goes to Walmart to fight the guy in a parking lot. The guy tries to run my dad over. Dad calls the cops and tells them where the storage unit is. Cops open the unit. Tons of expensive furniture stacked on top of one another. A dozen flat-screen TVs. The guy is never heard from again.
B16. Every day after school, I take an hour-long bus ride home. The bus is always packed. One day, this guy that looks, unkempt, comes onto the bus, praying to God that the girl in front of him would sit beside me. She keeps walking. "Please don't sit here. Please don't." Sure enough, he sits down beside me. I see now this guy isn't unkempt. He's a mess. His hair is gray and messy as all hell. Eyes are red as if he'd been crying. There was no smell, though. I'm listening to my iPod, just look out the window like normal. After about 30 seconds, he taps me on the shoulder and asks me for the time. I tell him. He thanks me, asks me what I'm listening to. I tell him it was Iron Maiden. Turns out he liked English metal too. We talked about it for a bit. He asks for my name. I tell him. He tells me his name is Gus. He asks for the time again. I tell him again. The bus starts up. He says, "Here we go." He says to me, "Ryan, look out for yourself, all right? Promise me that." Dude, what? I say I will. Somewhat scared this guy's gonna jump up and Uncle Ted at any second. He had an accent I couldn't place, told me he was from Alberta, where I live, but there was no way he lived here his whole life and had that kind of accent. During the bus ride, we keep talking about whatever. He's actually a pretty friendly guy. He doesn't say anything suspicious, but I'm still a little confused about him telling me to look out for myself. In either case, he gets off about 5 minutes from my house. As he's getting off, he shakes my hand and thanks me for the conversation. He hands me a $50 bill and gets off. Never see him again. I was so confused for the rest of the day.
One night I was out walking my dog later than usual because it had been raining all day, and she refuses to go in the rain. So I'm walking around my neighborhood at about 1 in the morning, can't see shit, and some dude comes out of nowhere and just walks up behind me. Now, because I've lived in this neighborhood for about 5 years at this point, I know everyone and everyone knows me. I did not know this guy. I tried to be polite and chat with him, but he didn't say anything. So I just left, but he started following me. At this point, I'm pretty sure this dude just wants to rob me, but he's not following me very fast. He's just walking. After about 5 minutes of this shit, I stop and try to talk to him again. He stops too, but instead of talking, he just sort of sways on the spot and bobs up and down a bit, then goes back to walking towards me. I decided it was probably best that he didn't make it to my house, so I sped up and took my dog through other people's yards to lose him. Never saw him again and never heard anyone else have a problem with him. The weirdest part about it all was that my dog didn't bark at him. She's a miniature schnauzer, and anyone who's had one of those will tell you they bark at everything.
Here's mine. I work at a bakery in Oregon where the winters get cold but not always so much to be icy. I'm in a manager position and have to be there early, so it's usually just myself and a coworker that opens the front come 6:30 a.m. I arrive at 5 a.m. So one morning I'm unlocking the front for me to get in when I see this old bag lady hanging around the facility. I think nothing of it and move on in to start the day. A few days go by and I see this same lady sitting right next to the door I'm unlocking. Again, I keep my cool and ignore her. But oh, the smell. That same day, I venture into the front barista area to grab a bite and what the fuck is she doing here? .jpg. My kind-hearted coworker decided to let her in because it's cold out there. She looked cold. Whatever, I say, thinking things will work out on their own. Nope. For days, nay, weeks, this lady, who smells like sweat that caked, turned into paste, then was mixed with toe jam, then spread onto a moldy bread slice. Went on to make our bakery front a halfway home for herself. Just fucking time to set up camp, and repeatedly built a fort out of chairs and tables, practically in our facility. For fuck's sake, this made me so angry that every person, including my boss, were beta about any kind of confrontation. I mean, this lady would stink up the whole place, sleep, sneeze on product, mess up our bathroom, throw shit at our staff, and God knows what else. Yet our boss and the rest of the employees seemed to be fine not giving her the boot. One fine day, I decide it's time for me to take a bathroom break. Looking forward to reading my book. Open the door. The bag lady was there. The door should have been locked, but I suppose that didn't matter to her. At that point, I close the door and stab my eyes with forks. Get my shit together, and time to make this thing leave. Wait for the bag lady to leave the bakery. Takes many hours. Approach bag lady. "Excuse me, ma'am?" Grunts, scared. I don't think you should be approaching your customers. I just want to speak with you for a second." "No, go away." "Ma'am?" I proceed to walk after her faster and faster. "No, go, go!" she screams. At this point, she begins casting spells and calling me a devil and shit, so I start to chase her and tell her never to come back. I am happy to say she hasn't ever been near again, but she was the nastiest, craziest person. I'm not even doing the description justice by typing this.
Lol. Oh man, I'm glad I remember this story. Okay, I was hanging out with my friends and their family one time. Really close friends. They had gotten a new go-kart, and we were going to an empty parking lot to try it. After driving it around for a bit, some guy walked up to us and started talking to us. He introduced himself by saying Jim, American, and reached his hand out to shake my friend's father's hand. He then told us how he had just gotten out of prison and how he was going to see his kid. This guy looked really fucking weird, and the stuff he was talking about was really strange. He stuck around for like 40 minutes. How do you just tell someone to leave? He sat there and talked forever about his kid. It's cool, but if he was in a hurry to see his kid, why did he stick around for so long? He left when we left, and he followed us to their house. When we realized he had been following us all the way home, we decided not to go home and drove around for like 20 minutes after we had already passed the house. He eventually stopped following us. Jim, American?
Standing by the cantaloupe in the grocery store, while my girlfriend digs through for the perfect one. A woman comes by, pushing a cart with a kid in the seat. She hands him one of the little baskets of strawberries. She turns around and keeps shopping. The kid squeals and launches the basket of strawberries across the store. The basket opens in midair, and strawberries pepper multiple people like little cluster bombs. A pale old man in a black suit was standing nearby, watching. I hear him mumble under his breath about, "It's beginning." He quickly runs out of the store, stands across the street, just staring at the store, staring at everyone walking out.
B18. Having a cigarette with some friends outside of a music venue where my friend's band is playing. A guy comes up to us, asks for a cigarette. I gave him one. He starts talking about how he bikes daily from places that you can only get to by freeway. I go along with the conversation. He starts talking about more creepy things like people he hates and people he wants to beat up. He keeps talking about this stash of money he has. It's waiting for me, man. Weirded out. Friends start leaving one by one, going back into the venue, making excuses that they have to do something. Me and like 2 others are left. We decide to head inside without saying anything. The guy follows us inside. Nope.bat. He gets thrown out by security because he didn't have a ticket. After the show, he is waiting outside in the front of the venue. Nope.exe.avi.jpg.msi. Eventually, man up and just swiftly walk past him, and he doesn't follow us. Probably avoided some horrible mutilation or something.
Few years ago, in New York City, B15. Need to get to Guitar Center. Don't know where it is. Ask a few people, nobody knows. Someone taps my shoulder. Holy shit. 10 out of 10 most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You were asking about Guitar Center? She asks in this sexy Spanish accent. It's a few blocks in that direction. Never mind, I'll walk you there. What the fuck? I stand there awe-stricken while she starts walking. I'm on the corner. She's in the middle of the street now. She turns around. Come on, Anon! She gets hit by a fucking Hummer. I freak out. There's blood everywhere. I start to run. Get on the train. Wait just a fucking minute. She said my name. Tell my parents about witnessing some random woman getting hit by a car. Didn't tell them about how she talked to me or said my name. They send me to therapy. Tell the therapist everything. Nobody believes me. What the fuck?
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.